So we have, I'm going to have them introduce themselves, but we have two of my very good friends. By the way, these are the people, I told them ahead of time that we now have finally found who to blame for the housing recession. They're up here on the stage.
Thank you.
We'll be able to talk to them. We had to find somebody, so we're going to pick on Cary and Kristi. Kristi Graning, and I don't know precise titles, but let's say Kristi runs all technology for RE/MAX International, and Cary Sylvester runs all technology for Keller Williams. Basically.
In a nutshell.
Fair enough.
Tell us a little about your background and what you actually do.
All right, I am with Keller Williams, and I've been in real estate for about 9 years, coming from the technical field. Before, where I was actually a consultant that helped design and architect large systems of moving data back and forth. So you're going to hear a little bit about where my passion is. I loved what Earl was saying. You can see my passion and my background comes from the data world of how do we get piece A to piece B and actually have it make sense and do something relevant with it. I've been with Keller Williams, like I said, for about 9 years. I run our technology platform, which is the technology group that supports the platform we offer to all of our agents, all the way from the product development, research, inception, all the way through support with all the development in between. So that's what I do with Keller Williams.
Kristi?
Well, good morning, everyone. So I've been with RE/MAX now almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years in April. It's pretty surprising to me that it's been that long, but it's been a great ride. I started back in 1991, and I started in an entry-level position in technology. So the entire time I've been in the technology space, and I've held almost every position within the technology division at RE/MAX as I've moved my way around. So done all the different jobs ranging from quality assurance to technical writing to support to training. And what ended up happening in the mid-90s is obviously the web came out, and I was standing in the right place at the right time. And when Dave Liniger wanted to know the difference between a website address and an email address, he came and talked to me. So because I was able to explain that to him, it really helped my career move forward.
That's the key to our positions.
Yes, absolutely. So it's been a ride since then, and ultimately my responsibilities encompass really, consumer engagement and driving leads and business to our agents, as well as providing technology tools to brokers and agents within the RE/MAX organization. And very recently, I've been able to really start focusing deep into emerging technologies. And so you'll see some cool things coming out with RE/MAX because, it's been survival mode over the past few years. I think we've all felt that. And now it's time to really re-energize and refocus and look at the future.
Okay, so here's the first question. Clean piece of paper. From your perspectives, you both have ample experience about our business and technology. You're experts at that. Clean piece of paper, what would you do if you could start over?
Let me jump in?
Sure.
Okay. And so I would love to have a blank piece of paper. Steve got us very excited this morning when he said we could have a blank piece of paper. We said, okay, let's go.
Make it real.
Yeah, it's not real yet, but if I did have one. Looking back over the past few years, really and truly, I look at it from two different approaches. One is what tools do agents have to use? What tools are the consumers using? And I would actually push us all to take a step back from technology itself and look at what is the consumer demanding. I think it was very much touched on in the earlier panel, and it's exactly where we need to go technology-wise as well. We've made a lot of decisions on the technology that we've offered and that we've done as an industry based on protecting where our value is. Protecting what it is that we do, protecting that MLS book. I have an MLS book that sits in my office to show where it is that we've come from. And I don't think anybody wants to go back to the MLS book days. At least I hope not. I flipped through it and I said, how in the world did we actually sell real estate with these things?
It does.
Yeah. If anyone has any extras, we're getting a collection of them. Please send them to me. We're actually doing a display. But when you look at this, let's take a step forward and say, well, let's think about what the consumer actually wants. And let's make our decisions, let's make our policies and our standards based on what the consumer is demanding and what they need to help make a better decision. Sherry mentioned earlier that it's moving to a lifestyle search, where they want to live, what they want to do. The only point that I'll disagree with, in all due respect, is that it's always been a lifestyle search. When you sat with a realtor and talked with them, the realtor is the one deciding and figuring out, listening to who you were, about what you wanted, to figure out where that lifestyle was. That's the point that we did. That's what we have not done online yet, of where we're going, of how can we help that person make more intelligent decisions and actually replace that piece. The number of FSBOs, the number of online deals of people buying and selling transactions on their own has dropped during this time of the internet boom. So they're not going out to buy and sell real estate on their own. But but we can still take that piece of that consultative piece of figuring out where they want to go and empowering that consumer a lot more. So if I had a blank slate, I'd start from that approach of what we've been developing. What does a consumer need to help make a better educated decision and be okay with releasing that control? On the second point, when I do look at it, if I had a blank slate, I look at it from what tools we develop. I also look at how do we develop the tools. I was at a meeting earlier this week in San Francisco, and I'm going to steal a story from somebody else, but I really loved his story. He came from Intuit. He said the difference between Microsoft and Intuit, their obsession was always making sure to beat Microsoft, of course, was that Microsoft came in, they were a technology company that forced technology onto the consumer. It got the consumer to change. Intuit, on the flip side, was a consumer-based company who provided tools to help their customers, and it's a very different mindset shift. It's not technology changing you, it's figuring out how technology plays into your business, and that's the mindset shift that, starting with a blank slate, that we've been able to accomplish lately, but if I had to start all over again, I'd start with that from the very beginning. And technology as a whole, this isn't even just in the real estate space, it's technology as a whole. It should be 100% customer-driven on what we develop, how quickly we develop, not how is technology going to change us. How does technology complement and enhance and build our business?
Kristi?
Those are the two big things I'd change.
So not just to be polite to Cary, but I definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying. And what I would go on to say is a little bit more definitive, and that is, you said standards, you talked about consumer engagement, giving them what they want, agree. So what I would go on to say is national data standards that are in the best interest of the consumer first and the agent second.
Yes.
Controversial, I know. And trust me, within my own organization, including with Jack, we fight about this quite frequently. We still fight about this. But I would specifically say throw IDX policies out the window. The IDX standards that were defined back in 1999 are old, antiquated, and ridiculous. They do not serve the consumer in the best interest, and they're not doing us as brokers what we need to be doing. They're not empowering us to deliver data and information to the consumers. So if anyone's with an MLS here, I apologize, but throw that out the window. The types of things that we have to spend money on in order to deliver data to the consumers, it's ridiculous. And so, I mean, we've talked about this, Pam, and I know a lot of us agree with this, but how do we get together and make this work? So if I had a blank piece of paper, Steve, I would be thrilled, because I look back at 1998, when RE/MAX was the first company with Realtor.com to put all listings on our website. It lasted for 2 weeks, and the industry went up in arms. Our competitors, MLS boards, freaked out, and we basically, Realtor.com, we had a contract with them that said they're going to let us do this. They had to come and, beg us to amend that contract because of the industry. And so, we need to focus on giving the consumer what they want, because we have third-party companies, you mentioned intermediaries in our business, that are doing a much better job than anyone else.
That's exactly what I'm sure that you're saying the exact same thing as well, is that we do have other companies that are coming in and taking over and providing services to our consumers that we should be able to provide.
Well, we're going to put you in charge, the two of you in charge of redoing the data in our industry. What would you do?
So number one, throw IDX out the window.
Okay.
Number two, get together and define certain standards that are basic, that honor the listing agent's contact information, some basic standards that everyone needs to follow. Basically say, MLSs, you can't define one by one all of these different rules and regulations. It has to be national, and basically allow franchisors, companies to get this information, standardize the data. Everybody has the same data, and then everybody, the way we compete is through user experience, user interface, design, display, and whoever wins that, I mean, look at Apple and Google. I mean, that's the way we should be playing. We shouldn't be fighting about the data. We should all have the data, and then we are competitive and differentiate ourselves by how that data is accessed. And whoever wins that, I mean, I love watching Apple and Google. And when you mentioned Microsoft and Intuit, I would say on top of that, that you want to make what Apple has done is make you want to use the technology. not force it, but want to. Like, it's something that is going to help you, and you're going to love it, and the experience is fascinating, and you can't live without it.
Well, and that's what I brought mine up here. I know that you have yours as well. We've proved ourselves as the true chief geeks in this room. But what I love about, and the mentality that we need to take is when you mention Apple, is the iPad, it's really not earth-shattering. I mean, from a technical level on the touch screen, that is. But what it serves and what it does for an end user is not earth-shattering. They didn't create any new software. They didn't create the new task manager or the next new calendar or the notes taker. I have 5 different notes-taking apps. Apple didn't develop a single one of those. They tapped into other people and said, you all go develop them. You use your expertise. We'll put it together in one place where they can access everything they need to do from one place. So if we take that same mentality and deal with the data issue, get all the data into one place that does have the same standards and rules, and I have the same debate at my offices as well, but get it all into one so it is one level playing field. You don't have all we're doing is making ourselves look bad to the consumer. Because when you call and look and say, well, I'm looking at this property right here, I can't find it. Yeah, but gosh, you're looking at that broker who belongs to a different MLS, and we can't commingle the data, so we can't actually show it to you. But go back to the beginning and search again, and we'll probably show it to you correctly next time.
Now, look at the airlines. Look at what's gone on with American, right? This analogy is exactly what our industry gave away years ago to Zillow and Trulia and other third parties. And here you've got the airlines trying to take it back. That was fascinating when I saw that. And I'm not trying to honk our own horn, but at corporate at RE/MAX, we're just now starting to syndicate listings on a national level. Yeah, I mean, everybody else started it long, long ago, right? And we didn't, because we're like, why are we empowering these third parties with our data and our intellectual property? And I saw company after company after company doing it. And I'm just blown away. And now here it comes full circle, and I'm just, here we're now just starting to think about it.
I know. Well, and here's the debate on that, though, is that consumers are going to look at different sites. They are going to look at different places. Just because there was a real estate magazine that was really popular in your area when it was the magazine era, didn't mean you're going to go create your own one to compete and say, I'm not going to put my stuff in there. They did a great job at what they did. And so you leverage them. That's what these outside companies do, but we've lost control because as an industry, we haven't pulled together that standard. Here's a collection of inventory that we have for consumers, and instead getting it in control and getting out and controlling, okay, Trulias and Zillows, you guys can play, you serve a need, and you help satisfy those consumers in a way that we can't. But we're going to help support you do that by one standard so that we're all on the level playing field. Now the franchises can play, now the brokers can play, now the agents can play. And it's all the level playing field rather than, they've gone way ahead of us.
And
because
honestly,
there are no rules.
I don't want them to go way ahead of us because I want to, I want to offer the best user experience possible. So I'd rather be doing that ourselves in our industry. I'd rather have you do it and us do it than them do it, personally. Sorry. They know how I feel.
All right, so think about this for a second. The content's there, okay? We solved we solved it, right?
Yeah.
Yep. We'll put aside whether a national standard for all the MLS data should happen. It's going to be a while yet, obviously. They're in just the newest version of dogfight number 3.2 or whatever, over whether it's RPR or Realtor.com or CoreLogic. I mean, we thought we saw battles in the past. These guys are just spitting on each other.
Yep.
It's kind of fun to watch, actually. Data's there. You're a brokerage firm. What is the one piece of technology from your experience that's a must-have? Top of the list for any brokerage company and with agents. What is the one piece of technology that most don't have, or maybe some do, that you would not only have but make it the centerpiece of what you would propose they must have?
So in my opinion, there's not just one. I'm sorry, I can't give you just one.
I'm talking about software here, not hardware.
Right.
Okay.
And I would say it's not just even software. I already mentioned it once, but I think user experience, user interface is huge. Mobility, we've heard the statistics that users are going to be using their mobile devices more than using the desktop, and that cross is going to occur in 2014. I think it will be sooner. And so we need to design our applications, our web apps, all of our tools that we can deliver via mobile for the mobile device. And so that's through user interface, user design, user experience. And so I think that is a very important piece, but that ties into mobility. So it's not just one. It's not just one thing you can tangibly put your hands on, in my opinion. It's your strategic approach to everything there. And that's where one of my key words in 2011 is convergence. Convergence between marketing, technology, and business. The convergence of all of that together, working together in a nice, friendly way, is going to be our challenge.
Okay. Cary?
Yep. I agree with that on the mobility on that front, but if there's one piece of software that you need to put in, I'll get down to one, that everybody should have. Let me ask you a question before I answer that. Who here has seen and believes that our agents don't follow up on leads? The nervous laughter, yes. How many of your agents are using databases? Effectively. Put your hands back down. Effectively using a database that actually pulls in leads, because we can build the most beautiful, most wonderful user interfaces and have the most leads coming through the system. However, if they don't even know that they're there, how are they going to respond? How are we going to do this? And that's what we've been really taking a very close look at how many lead sources and truly how many databases are people managing today, that you don't think about the fact that you're managing with all the different systems. When you go through NAR and you go through the exhibit hall and it's just row after vendor, and you sign up and suddenly have 3 more databases within about an hour that you're having to manage, well, the likelihood is you're not going to. And so if we could actually get every agent who is actually effectively using a database, and it is their own. We definitely have the philosophy that it's not ours. I want all of my agents to have their own database that they're using, whether I provide it or somebody else provides it. But they have to have a database that they use effectively, and they feel comfortable. The reason why a lot don't use what we offer on database side is they feel like you're going to take it. I know we've all heard that. I know they feel like we're going to take it if we have one. It has to be theirs. It has to be the agent's database. It has to be their clients of business. That's our philosophy. Everyone has different models and can have different philosophies, of course. But if everyone can do that, when we talked about people aren't reusing their past clients or not staying in contact, well, no, of course you're not. They're on an index card that you're flipping through. I still have, I think it was my boss's mother came over in town, and she brought her big notebook that if she lost that notebook, she would be lost. And she's a fantastic agent, one of the top agents in Houston, and she'd be completely lost if she lost that. So
what you're saying is integration. You said it earlier in your introduction, and I completely agree. So what we've done is that database that you're referring to with all these different pieces and parts. You're doing that today with your new announcement, and we've done that as well historically with Lead Street and Design Center and Remax.com and all of the pieces together that drives the data. So they're getting the lead goes in, we have an algorithm that we've set up, lead distribution. So we drive the traffic, we have over $1 billion in spend, drive it to Remax.com, force the lead in, invite consumers to generate that lead, only invite. It comes in, and from there it goes into that database that you're talking about. And that's where that lead is incubated. And you're right, agents aren't using it, but we force them through training, and we tell them to do that.
And you just mentioned training. The other thing that I would do, and the biggest thing that I would recommend when you're teaching your agents, a lot of folks here have said, I'm going to try and keep up with you, but I don't know technology. That's great. How many of you are on your iPads and your smartphones right now? And yes, you do know technology. Steve, I think you were telling us you've got your Kindle, your iPad, that you use now your iPad instead of your desktop.
Yeah, I don't use it. I don't carry a notebook computer anymore.
No, and so, we all actually embrace it. And the biggest thing I do, I go and teach classes on how to implement technology. And we have a rule whenever we start one of our classes, we always determine how much money someone has to pay to our charity if their cell phone goes off. So that's rule number 1. Now for my technology classes, I have rule number 2. The first person who mentions the word technology has to pay a fine to the charity as well, because they're all about online marketing, and it's not about the technology. It's a new way to market. And if you need to change that mindset, so that's the biggest thing that I would do as a broker to help our agents get over that mindset. It's not about technology. If you know how to program, I actually probably don't want you selling real estate. I know most of my brokers, I'd never want selling real estate. But I want someone who knows how to market really well to use this new medium. And I want that focus to be on, what am I doing to market?
So critical is your customer interface and a database CRM. If you're going to spend the money to grab customers
Right.
and offer them something that causes them to stay with you, you got to find a way to respond and keep track of what you're doing.
And not just that, if you're going to have a back end that does that, you have to have data and clients and leads going into it.
Right. When you have your website, every page that you look at, if it doesn't have the capability to generate a lead of some sort, what is it doing on your website?
What's your biggest frustration with all this?
How blunt do you want me to be?
Turn the camera off. Turn the recorders.
No more recording.
Politics, old blood, greed.
Politics, old blood, greed.
Sorry.
And the answer is, Cary?
I've got you, took my answer. No, I do believe that my biggest frustration, I do believe that we have let other people take over some control of our business like we talked about because of politics. Bottom line, it is what it is.
Now, which politics were you talking about? Realtor politics, broker, network politics? Who's agent politics? What's we
MLS broker, competitive, vendor. It's all of it mixed together.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's competing for that one piece of the pie, and we're all just doing ourselves a disservice.
But because
there's a different competition for the pie.
Hasn't somebody told the tech guys? Hasn't somebody already told them there is no money to be made in real estate brokerage technology businesses? The MLS providers aren't making much money.
Trulia must be. They're opening an office down the street from us.
Yeah, they're opening in Denver. Mm-hmm. Don't know why. They like to ski. Okay.
They just want
politics. Let me touch on MLS. I have heard it said. In fact, I think, Ed, you and I have had this conversation more than a few times. And it's happening again. Gino, I know we've had discussion too, right? So you're going to deploy the new E-Edge, and it's going to work.
Yep.
And Kristi's got some of hers, and they're going to deploy. And I think that Earl's going to deploy, and Alex Perillo from Realogy is going to deploy, and then Bob Hale in Houston is going to deploy free to all his members. Same thing. You know it. As good as I'm standing here. I'm picking on Bob because he's our famous guy to pick on among MLSs, but there'll be others. And they'll totally wipe out the economics or the, if you will, the competitive advantage each of you offer through your networks, and he's sitting there going to offer it free.
But what's free, really?
That means it doesn't cost anything.
I know. Well, I know that. But aren't there other fees that they pay? Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
Money comes from someplace.
No, but I know what happens is, of course, every broker in the market now has to pay. It's like me paying property taxes. Oh, now we'll get political. And I had to send my boys to private schools because what the education they needed, because they were dyslexic, the public schools can't handle. So I got to pay twice. And so, I'm here. Am I wrong? Is this still going on?
Yes.
And is this a problem for what you're trying to do?
Yes.
Is it going to be a problem for all of us? Are they also, at the other hand, going to block certain initiatives like IDX? They're going to slow that up to enable them to stay relevant. And you know what their position is, right? Well, I know they're your agents, Pam. They're our members. I got in this big fight up in New Garden State MLS 15 years ago. They told Jim Weichert, hey, Jim says, we just built that stuff for our people. You can't now replicate it and offer it. And they said, they may be your agents, they're our members. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about that? Well, I know you took over the MLS, ended that problem.
We had in Long Island, because of the IDX, Jim had to go over and take an ethics class to become a member of the. That's how ridiculous it is.
What do we do about that? Is that part of the politics, old money greed?
Well, but I think from
how do we get around? You walk your brokers into spending the money. And now listen to talk about the money, right? We all know in this room, it's not just buying the technology and designing it right and doing it. It's training everyone how to use it, right? Big investment.
And proving ourselves that we're not going to abuse it.
Right.
That's the biggest hurdle. If people think it's going to be abused, I'm going to steal, there's theft and things like that. It's like, no, we're not going to abuse it. And I agree. I hope that RE/MAX has a wonderful site because people who want to go to RE/MAX, I want them to find our listings and help find a buyer. I want our site to be absolutely fabulous and wonderful. And we'll always have a great competition between each other of who's going to have the best site. I want Weichert to have a great site. I want Better Homes and Gardens. Because if a consumer finds our agent's listing, I want them to get a great experience, and bottom line, we want buyers for those listings. And so we have to prove that we are going to honor, and IDX reciprocity was for a great reason, to say that we are going to play by the same rules. We just need to look at how we can expand that out.
It got out of control.
But this MLS issue is not going away. I just bring it up. See, all right, what is your wish list for the ultimate mobile tool for associates and managers? What your ultimate mobile tools?
For the associate and manager?
Yeah.
Close the entire deal from your mobile phone. Close the
entire deal
from your
PDA. You know what mine is? Voice activation.
Yeah.
I mean,
voice texting.
I can voice. I got that, and I can do.
Which app do you use?
I don't know.
I haven't found one that. Mine keeps misspelling everything.
I mean, I've got no. I like. You got to get a Droid, yeah, because I got one here, and I push this little button here. Cary, Sylvester.
But I want to be able to text someone. I know.
Yeah,
So
there
but
you
my
are.
phone's off because I don't.
I
want
like
to pay
this.
fine.
This voice search. It's cool.
Right.
Hey, old dogs.
So I'm not going to answer that question, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, but mobile is a huge piece of a strategic approach. And I just got back from the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and saw. I mean, it was amazing. Oh, and by the way, I had to sneak through the kitchen to get into Steve Ballmer's session because the lines were so long. To do.
Yeah.
But mobile and the technology, the on demand. We live in an on-demand world. So that's another key word in my mind in 2011 is on demand. Everything's on demand. I look at my kids, they don't even know what live TV is. We get music on demand, we get video games on demand, we get movies on demand, we get everything on demand. Everything is at our fingertips, and so we have to have real estate on demand and every piece and part of that. And again, I'm going to go back to user experience. I think Realtor.com has done a fabulous job with their app where you can, everything is going to be from your finger. All of the usability on any application needs to be from your finger. So you need to design links and buttons to be bigger, and it's not going to be the same type of design that we've done traditionally for a mouse and for the web. So you have to think differently. So I'm not going to fully answer that because we're positioning ourselves, but I think mobile is going to be key in how you leverage the tablet. Not only do we have an iPad, we have a Galaxy Samsung Tab at home. I mean, you got to play for all the different screen sizes, et cetera.
Well, but if you look at the one thing that I want to jump in on that though, is that traditionally we focus very much on what the consumer wants mobile. And I don't think, as an I've never been to a single conference or a single discussion where people talk what do the agents need.
Ooh, I think that's segue.
Okay, go.
Do you mind? Okay.
Now, what's that thing?
This is my iPad.
Oh, you got a special case.
I do have a special case. So, not that this is a RE/MAX commercial, but we launched RE/MAX University on the Roku device, on the desktop, on your Droid operating system, on your iOS, on your operating systems. It's going to load because I had to re-enter my password. But basically, if I have 3G or any wireless, I can pull up RE/MAX University training video clips at any point in time. I can start watching it on my Roku device, push pause, come here, push play right where I left off. Darn it, it's not loading. But anyway, so to the agent, that's what we're focusing on as well.
This is Austin, Texas. I can't get an AT&T signal.
And it's better here than San Francisco.
Right. Anyway, there's a good question up here. Our agents are constantly outpaced by consumers from a technology standpoint, even in their own age bracket. How do we deal with that?
Focus on what the consumer wants, not what we want to protect. I sound like a broken record, but it's like
does the pace? The pace is going to get faster and faster in terms of the applications that are needed to satisfy consumers.
Your consumers are going to be bringing you ideas of how they want to be able to utilize your services online, on their phone, wherever they want to do it. And they're going to bring you ideas, and you have to be open to those. And you're going to get ideas from all over the place. There's other industries to model. We're ahead of some industries and behind some other industries.
So it's safe to say there is no there.
No. That's the thing I love about technology is it never stops. And it just gets faster and faster and faster.
And I would agree. If the consumer forces our agents, then the agents will have no choice. And as long as we as brokers and franchisors are standing there with the training they need to provide those services, then that's what our job is.
I'm going to ignore that for a minute.
I can't see them.
How do you, okay, I think you answered one solution. How do you effectively train? You start distributing training through mobile devices so agents can pick it up anytime, real time, on their own time.
Mobile,
okay?
desktop, all the different ways to serve that content.
Right.
Are there brokers?
And while you're reading that, the other way to effectively train, though, is seriously quit talking about technology when you train.
Do you have any hints for the audience how to get your agents to embrace mobile technology better? You said don't call it technology. Say this is how you're going to market. This is how you're going to get educated. This is...
So the proof is in the numbers. That's probably one of the most difficult things that we have today is to be able to track that ROI from every lead source that you have in every system that you're using. But helping to be able to do that so you can see the proof is in the numbers. Am I making money from this? We're all business people. Am I making money from it? Yes or no? And if I'm making money from it, I'm going to use it and I'm going to embrace it and figure out how to make it work for me.
You know, I guess I would just say it will come with time. You know, I've been in this industry for a long time, and I've seen agents who didn't use email, who didn't use a computer, who didn't, you know, do all of these things, and honestly, they've come a long way. I mean, I'm pretty darn impressed with everybody. They're not where we want them to be, but they're coming along, and I think the consumers are going to force them there.
I think sometimes my 70-year-old father sometimes brings ideas to me that he's heard from my nephews. He's like, hey, Peter told me how to do this. And I'm like, well, teach me how to do it. I don't know how to do this, because he's just open to learning how to doing these new things. But it's because it's fun, because he's finding something new and he's bonding with his grandson.
Mr. Bush, final statement? Strategery. No.
No, we won't use strategery.
Strategery. What last statements from each of you?
For whatever it is that you develop, whatever it is you deliver, begin to put the consumer first. Don't begin. Put the consumer first. Find out what the consumer needs, because that will make your agents look good.
So don't design it from agent back. Go out to the consumer, design it from there.
Yes, that will make, I mean, if you're worried about diminishing the value of the agent, putting the information out there that consumers want will make your agent look good. It will open the door for the conversation. It will invite the consumer into the conversation because they feel armed with information. When they feel blind, they're not happy in the conversation. So do that, and it will make your agents look really good.
Ladies and gentlemen,